Okay, this is to help with question 2.2, number 7. 3 parts to it, but they're all really the same. It's a direct variation, which is the equation for this lesson. So y equals k times x, and k just is some constant number, so it's going to be like 12 or 4 or -2 or something like that. And so the first part, they give you a xy pair that allows you to find k. So y is 6 when x is 2. So if that is true, if we plug those in, sorry that k looks pretty poor there, but if you divide by 2, then k must be 3. All right, which means our equation for this one is y equals 3 times x. All right, and so now we have to find x when y is 12. So if we put 12 into the equation now for y and solve it, divide by 3, and we get 4. All right, so this is sort of one xy pair, but we found a second one, right? So one xy pair is when x was 2, y was 6. But a second one is when y is 12, x is 4. Okay, so we just found another xy pair for that equation. All right, so for letter B, kind of the same thing. So we're going to start with the equation. All right, and again, we originally plug in for y and x just to find k. So x2, y7, and then if we divide by 2, k is 7/2, or 3.5. The tricky part about this is you want your answers as fractions. So I'm going to leave it, instead of 3.5, I'm going to leave it as 7/2, and say our equation is y equals 7/2 times x. That's our direct variation. And now we have to find x when y is 3. So I'm going to put 3 in for y. All right, and now we got to solve this. So it's got a fraction, and there's a couple different routes here to deal with this, especially because we don't necessarily want to turn it into a decimal because it's asking for fractions here. So what I like to do is this is 7 divided by 2. So I like to take both sides times 2 because that cancels out this divide 2. Right, so we would have 6 on this side, and then it would just be 7x because this divide 2 would disappear. Right, and if you want to do all the steps, I'm really doing 7/2 times 2, which multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, becomes 14/2, or just 7. Right, so I kind of skipped that part and just said this times 2 cancels out the divide 2, we just have 7x. Okay, and now to get x alone, just divide both sides by 7, so x is the fraction 6/7. All right, last one's probably real similar. If you feel like you got the hang of it, you can skip the rest of this or pause and then check your answer. But I'm going to go pretty fast. So it's y equals kx, and we know y5 when x is -3. So I'm going to plug that in, divide by -3 to get k. So k is 5/3. Okay, so our equation, now that we found k, looks like that. And then we want to know x again when y is -1. So put -1 in for y. Sorry, my pen fell apart there. So it'll be -1 and then 5/3, -5/3 x. Okay, so I'm going to use the same trick as before. So I'm going to look at the denominator and say this is divide by 3. So I'm going to times by 3. So we get -3 equals -5x because it wipes out that divide 3. And again, -1 times 3 to get this side. Now divide by -5, and x is going to be -3 divided by -5, which the negatives cancel and give us 3/5. Okay, little tricky fraction work there, but hopefully that helped you out. Reach out if you have questions still. Thank you.